This is the Illimitable Experience Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Illimitable Experience Podcast. If you're watching this video, like this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. And guys, like, share and subscribe. We are posting great content consistently. This is our 23rd episode. And today we have as our guest Aadhya Agrawal, who I have known since 2016 while I was preparing for my IPCC. Hi Aadhya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's great catching up with you after such a long time, and I'm really happy that we are doing this. Yeah. So Adya, you appeared for your final CA recently, and my first question obviously is how did the exams go, and how were your preparation days?
Oh, the same old. It's the usual every time. There's like a lot of stress. The exams were good, but you never know with CFI. So I cleared my second group like long back 2 years ago. That was my first attempt, and since then I have not been able to clear my first.
Right. Okay. So Adya, I'm hearing this for the first time. That I mean, it's understandable that with the situation of the pandemic and everything, that things were quite like chaotic in the past 1.5 year. So to give 100% to every attempt is not possible also, I think.
Things are not chaotic as they were, right? But then studying the same thing all over again for so many times also takes a toll on you. And plus the basic societal pressure of not clearing it in so many attempts, that also takes on you. So it is a task keeping your mind at like stable and studying for a set number of hours. So like keeping your mental health in check irrespective of whatever you're doing in your life is a very big task. And in this, like for this attempt, I think I've opted to go for meditation, which has helped me a lot. So like 40-45 minutes of meditation every day has helped me during this attempt, because after the previous attempt, I was like lost what to do because I was not able to clear it. It was like my second attempt after not clearing it for the first time. So like I'd suggest meditation for everyone. That is like keep your mental health in check.
Right. So, Adya, you told me that there is always, I mean, the pressure and the frustration to, revise the entire portion again. That is understandable because I have also been through that phase. Now, the other part that you talked about was the societal pressure. So, what is the pressure that exactly you're talking about? Is it, I know it's a stereotype that, but is it the same thing that you being a Marwadi, it is like you have to clear it in first attempt, yes, Akuch?
It is more than anything else. It is perceived pressure. It's not like there is a pressure on you. You perceive the pressure to be there. Like if you cleared your IPCC or CPT in first attempt with very good marks, then there is a perceived fear or pressure on you that you have to clear the CA final also in the first attempt or with the rank or all of those things. So that takes a toll on you mentally if you're not clearing. And plus all these postponements and uncertainty of the exam being held or not being held, the conditions they are being held in, all of that is a task to deal with. And on top of the exam pressure.
Right. Even the exam centers that I've noticed in the past 1.5 year, they have put in a like very terrible places. I was talking to one of my friends, and he had posted the story that the place where this exam was conducted was literally like a school where there were no decent conditions to even sit and write the paper peacefully. So that also adds to the pressure as well.
That definitely does, but thankfully that did not happen with me. Like during this pandemic, at least I got centers that were close to my place and they were in good condition, like proper functioning schools. So I don't have to complain about that.
Yeah. So Adya, now this is the thing that, the pressure is like an inevitable thing while exam preparation. And you told that your go-to thing was meditation. And how has meditation helped you in, in preparing for your exams? And what was the reason that you turned to meditation and not anything else like yoga or gymming or
So,
any other sort of exercise?
uh, so my dad is inclined toward meditation. So he suggested me that I should try it, and that worked for me. So I he long back he had switched to like he was introduced to art of living by someone. So he liked it long back. This is like 16, 17 years ago.
Okay.
So that helped him deal with something in his life that was going on at that time. So post that, he somewhat kept on and off kept in touch with it. So he suggested that if you're going through something, this may help. You can try it. So I tried it's called Pranayam from Art of Living. Sudarshan kriya and Pranayam. So I used to do that. That is about 40 minutes of meditation. It includes uh, basic exercise plus meditation. So that worked for me to keep my mind stable for at least some period of time while I study. Everyone can opt for whatever, they can try different things and opt for whatever helps them. So I tried gymming. I went for like 20 days or something, but I was not very inclined towards it. So that didn't help me. So my dad suggested to go for meditation, and that helped me. So I was like, I'm glad it helped me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Adya, can you tell me what are these two types of meditation that you are doing? One you said pranayama, and what is the other one?
Sudarshan Kriya. So that
Yeah.
is Sudarshan Kriya is specific to art of living. Uh, so anyone who has done art of living courses will know. It is about they give you a word called soham, and it is just about concentrating on your breath. So when you breathe in, you you just imagine yourself saying so, and when you breathe out, you imagine yourself saying and that you do at three different speeds. So that way you take you keep a check on your breath basically in all those speeds. You try to keep a check on your breath that way. And pranayam is basically keeping a check on your breath. That is the word for pranayam in yoga.
Mm.
For keeping a
Okay.
check on
So,
your breath, that is the word for that
uh,
in yoga.
okay. So what changes that you feel after meditation, and how long did you practice this for? Like, was it like 2 months since the preparation, or
No,
like?
no. So this was in between my preparation because I was getting overwhelmed with all the things like studying and all of that. So my dad suggested it during my preparation. So I did it for about a month and I still continue it. So yeah, but I think even if you're not uh, preparing for anything, or even if you don't have a lot of stress in life in general, you should try some uh, form of meditation, any form, not specifically art of living or anything else, but some form of meditation that gives you calmness in your.
Mm. Right. So how did it impact you? Like, did you feel any difference after meditating while writing the exams, or did the overwhelming feeling got like a lot under control?
Yeah, मतलब not exactly, you can't channel it saying कि exams के वक्त में you are feeling a lot calmer or whatever. But in general, your mind is at ease. You're not overthinking things. Basically, that way, your mind is calmer.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's I've seen a lot of people turn to meditation for preparation. I mean, the primary reason that the people that I know have turned to meditation is because of the repetitive attempts or the pressure during the exams, and all of them have had the same experience that okay, it really calms and soothes the inner chaos that you have been facing while preparing, be it the pressure that you talked about, be it the frustration of the attempts, or be it not able to study with discipline. And yeah, I guess it's a good thing that people are turning to it, and many people should turn to it.
Definitely, I suggest that.
Yeah. So Adya, apart from uh, pursuing CA, you have, as far as I know, you are also interested in other topics of geography and history. So what is it that got you interested in the subjects that were seen as the boring subjects when we were in school, but suddenly there is a spike in the interest for you?
Yeah, in school I used to hate history and geography. I don't know for what reason, but I used to hate it. Maybe because the way they taught us, the subjects were not relevant, the topics were not relevant for us. What am I supposed to knowing about Russian Revolution or French Revolution? Like, how is it going to help me? Even if it is going to help me, at least explain to me how is it going to help me. But I hated history and geography throughout my schooling. Throughout, I used to like, even if they taught me civics, economics as a part of history and geography, I used to hate the entire subject as a. But suddenly there is this so like post joining Twitter, the interest in history has developed, knowing about what has happened in our country and all of that. Some angle of politics to it as well, but I try to I used to uh, indulge into politics a lot on Twitter, but I consciously stayed away from that for like about a year now, and that has substantially reduced my stress, because that is stress for no reason. You don't need it in your life. You do not need to discuss politics with anyone. Nobody needs to put their time into political discussions on Twitter or anywhere, in my opinion, because that is a waste of time, 100% waste of time, because there's no conclusion to it anywhere. The people who are handling the politics, they should discuss politics. We as citizens are not interested, should not be interested in politics at all, because that does, like, the macro level politics does not affect us at all. At all. That is what I think.
No, that's
And
true to some extent as well. No, with the first of with regards to subject, as you said, uh, even I am of the same opinion that how was the subject helping me in real life. So for me, it was science that I hated a lot. Okay, arey, yeah, why should I study this? It's not. It's see, if I'm sick, I don't need. I'll go to a doctor, right? It's as simple as that. If I want to construct something, I'll go to an engineer or an architect. So that was my fundaki. If I am not doing that, why should I need to study that? But that's the thing that the people who teach you have play a huge role in developing your interest in that subject. So that has happened to me, and it's because of Twitter. So there is a Ukrainian guy. His name is Lex Friedman. He holds a PhD he's actually a professor in MIT and holds a PhD in robotics. And the way he talks about science has really made me thought, question again that why was I so downplaying the science as a subject. Now that I listen to him as a person who loves science, who immerses himself in science, then that is that interest that okay, maybe even I need to know something that that why things are happening or why this thing worked this way. So that's true that teachers play a huge role in developing the interest in that subject. And with this political discussion, it has always been like since time immemorial that people are okay. People say X things, people say Y things, but the politicians are the real ones who are playing the game. So we are just mere spectators. Like it's easy to say कि विराट कोहली ऐसा कैसा batting कर रहा है, but we don't hold the authority to question that why is he there, why he is there. There's this awesome book that you should read. It's the book's name is The Animal Farm by George Orwell, and the entire book has been written. It is a very short book, like 80 to 90 pages only, and the book tells the story of how governments are formed, but in a very satirical manner. So the humans have been replaced with animals, Okay, and then things build up, and that's what I think, I'll suggest that if you now have developed an opinion that talking politics is a waste of time, then the Animal Farm will be the right book to read at this point of time.
I'll surely check it out.
Yeah. So yeah, so what got you interested in history suddenly?
The same thing, like Twitter discussions and all, but non-political Twitter discussions of how like our country has basically taken shape and why it is the way it is right now.
Hmm.
Starting from Mughal invasions, or even before that, and also like uh, to bring in Hindu cosmology over here, like how the earth was formed according to Hinduism. I am a little inclined towards reading about Hinduism and how the earth was formed, how different. So Hinduism has basically four uh, yugs.
Yug. Hmm.
Yeah. So how those yugs, like how long they were, what happened in those yugs, and how there was transition from one yug to another, and what caused all of that, and what yuga are we like staying in, living in right now. All of that also interested me, and from there, when I started, like it's a basically a timeline, right? So when you start following the timeline, you reach all of those Mughal invasions and then British invasions and all of that. So all that timeline basically made me interested in history, basically Indian history. I'm not overly interested in world history. I am majorly interested in Indian history.
Hmm. Yeah, Twitter has indeed been quite an insightful app, I would say. Reason being that there are pages that both of us must be following and must have come across these pages, which talks about the history of Hindu temples, and there is this page that talks on Bharadwaj speaks, which talks about the same thing that you. So these pages have really opened our eyes to the thing that okay, there is a history beyond the British rule and the Mughal Empire. And strangely enough, and I guess we did have a talk about this. About a year ago or 1.5 year ago, I told you that my one of my cousin is in 10th grade, ninth or 10th grade, ninth and 10th grade, okay. And obviously she has the same subjects as we had, like history, civics, and geography. And strangely enough, the entire history book, and I mean the entire history book, was just to British rule and the Mughal rule, and that too speaking good about how they influenced our own culture. So that is for someone who is in school, and the main purpose is to just read the textbook that is given to us by the school. It's really strange that they aren't putting the Indian history and talking about how we developed our own, and rather than the invaders coming in, then exploiting and then doing the good for us.
But again, all of this is again politically motivated, right? So how much ever you discuss about this, there's not going to be a conclusion unless there are changes on the from the higher authorities for what is to be
Hmm.
taught in schools. This is again politically motivated, and it has been so since a long time.
Hmm.
So there won't be any changes until there are changes from the higher authorities. So the
Right.
only thing
And
that we can do is we can encourage people to read about not what is there in the textbook on their own, like irrespective of what you're studying in school, you should read about other
hmm.
things also. That way.
Right. Yeah. That can be like instilled, right? So apart from Twitter pages, have you read any book about Indian history that has like really fascinated you?
I am I am not majorly into non-fiction stuff. Like when we talk about reading, I'm not majorly into non-fiction stuff. I majorly read fiction, so I'm not like I haven't read a lot about
Hmm.
in like as a novel. I haven't read anything based on Indian history. If things are in a fictional kind of way, I may give it a chance to read. Otherwise, no, I haven't.
Hmm. Okay, so it was the Twitter that encouraged you to get into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
history part. Right. And how about geography? What really fascinated you about geography, and what got you into it?
Geography basically. So in today's day and age, everyone wants to travel, right? Everyone
Yeah.
has that travel bug, and irrespective of what they're doing, what their job needs, what they want to see themselves doing in the near future or the far future, everyone wants to travel. So that travel kind of started, the travel bug kind of started, and I started researching about things, how to travel, where to travel, how do you interact with people, and all of that. And also in the pandemic, to pass time, I started looking for various quizzes and all of that just to pass time. And I came across this one site that has a lot of quizzes on various topics. I started playing quizzes just for fun over there. And that basically made me inclined towards playing more geography quizzes. And that way I started getting more inclined towards geography.
Hmm. So, so what do you think is the can be the reason that people have, a majority of the people have, uh, you know, put travel as one of their major goals in their life? Because in the previous generation, if you see, the travel was not a very, part of the to-do list kind of thing, right?
So it's mainly because of globalization and also internet, basically. Because everyone can see what's there on the other side of the world just by one click on their laptops or phones. And things that they have no access to excites people. So they want to
Hmm.
go and experience those things. I think majorly internet plays a big role in the travel book that everyone has kind of right now.
Hmm. Yeah, and that makes sense. True.
The
So are
previous
there?
generation did not have access to internet. So the main travel goals that they had were probably pilgrimage. That was
Hmm.
their travel goals. So
Right. True, true. That's true. So Aadhya, I this what I wanted to know is, as now that you're into geography, so now you must have also noticed, and I'm also seeing that a lot of people are migrating to different countries. So why do you think is this a migration of such huge population happening at or has happened in the past half decade or like a decade or so? Because even that there are your peers also must have moved to some like Canada or USA. What is the main reason people migrate? If you must have read about
the
it something.
the main, according to me, the main reason people migrate is looking for a better standard of living. You won't majorly see people coming from a developed country and living in a developing country. You'll mainly see people going from developing or underdeveloped countries looking for a better standard of living in developed or developing countries respectively. So main reason I think is a better standard of living. Other than that, the same thing, you get to travel and all of that.
Hmm.
The major reason is people looking for a better standard of living. That is all. Even from Europe, if you go to Canada, I think Canada has a lot of land which is not tapped right now, which can be cheap if you look at it that way. And if it is developed, like if you develop it over a course of time, it, like it may give you a better standard of living from where they are living right now, because Europe is majorly populated, densely populated. So that way, Canada, if you're talking about Europeans moving to Canada, they are probably looking for a bigger house, a better standard of living from what they are currently living in Europe.
Hmm.
That
Yeah, that's right. No, what I've noticed also, Adya, that people do have like a set of standard migration patterns that I've noticed. So if you look at Indians usually go to America and Canada as their second destination, or London. These three are the major destination. If you look at the people living in the North African region, people like Monaco or Algeria and those part of the region, those people mainly migrate to France and Spain and Italy. Because what happened is recently I started learning Arabic, and my tutor is an Algerian. So on the first day he introduced himself and he said, "Okay, I'm from Algeria and I can speak three languages." So I'm like, "How? I mean, one can be English, one can be Arabic, and other can be some other language, you know." But he's like, "No, no, no, I don't speak. I mean, I do speak these languages, but apart from that, I also speak French and Spanish." I was like shocked that how can he speak French and Spanish. So then he told me that what happened is the Europeans came to conquer the north of Africa. Okay, so they had a major influence on these countries, and when they left, it led the influence was so much that they people over there still wanted to experience the full wanted to have a full experience of that culture. So then people started moving to France and Spain and Italy, and it's like if you watch football, it is also quite known that the French football team is consist mainly of Algerian players, a lot of Algerian Muslim players. So yeah, this can be. I mean,
So it probably could be because Algeria is towards the north of Africa
yeah.
and France is towards the southwest of Europe.
Hmm.
There is geographically less distance between the two countries. So even if the Algerian people have families in Algeria, and even if they move to France or Spain, maybe they are close to their family, still they are like looking for a better standard of living in these countries. They are earning more than what they would in Algeria. So I think
Hmm.
that way, that is closer, that is easily accessible to them, migrate to, instead of looking to
Hmm.
migrate to US or Canada, which is all the way
Yeah.
around the Atlantic, over the Atlantic. They would
Correct. Correct.
prefer going to France or Spain.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this can also be the reason why a lot of Indians still, prefer to live in Dubai. So Dubai being like a closest to India, it has a lot of influence from UK and America. So when UAE got free, I mean, when UAE was established as a country, a major architect was appointed who from New York, who recently passed away. And that is when I realized, okay, so the lot of influence in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi comes from USA and UK. So people also get that feeling of having access to European countries and Western countries at the same time, not moving very far away from their homeland as well.
That, as well as like Indians prefer moving to the US or Canada mainly because there is limited language barrier. So if an Algerian is moving to France, that is because since childhood he has been taught French and that he does not consider as a language barrier. So
Mm.
Indians do not prefer moving to European countries unless they are open to learning the language. That's why Australia, New Zealand, and USA and Canada are a like hit amongst Indians to move to. Because we've been taught English since childhood. So that way we don't
Since
have a language
childhood.
barrier with English.
Yes. But it's a funny thing, that despite having an entire education in English, while moving to countries, these countries ask for high score.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
There's an examination that we have to give, IELTS.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That
So, I
is
mean,
because they don't consider India as a first, like English as a first language in India. So it call us
uh,
non-native English speakers.
that's understandable. Nadia, how do you think, how much does, uh, you know, the culture is influenced by people who come from the outside or people who migrate? How much does it influence and how much they themselves influence the culture?
Uh, like in the migrated country, right?
Yeah, so let's take an example. You are Adhya, right? And you decided to move to America for a better standard of living. So first is how would you be influenced? How much you would be influenced by the culture of America? At the same time, how you yourself would influence the people around you?
So basically, I like anyone who migrates to another country would definitely look for something that is familiar to them. So you will see a lot of Indians living with Indians instead of being open to live with someone else who's not Indian. A lot of people will prefer to live with Indians as only, as their mates or
Hmm.
flatmates or whatever. So that is basically because they are looking for something familiar in a non-familiar place.
Hmm.
Plus, if you talk about getting influenced by the people over there, I think it does not matter if you're living over there or not, because in this age of internet, everyone is getting influenced by everyone wherever they are, irrespective of where they are. Like a person living in Mumbai
Hmm.
can get influenced by people who are living in, say, New York. So I don't think today it matters where you're staying to get influenced by something.
Yeah, that's a great point. The social media has really made that
Yeah,
possible. That despite you having a Mumbai upbringing, you can be highly influenced by like New York culture or something like
yeah, and have like fake accents and all of that as well.
that. The fake accent thing. So the accent reminds me of something. Uh, one of my friends is in USA, okay, and he had to take American accent speaking classes. And that was suggested by his employer. Reason being that when he was talking on the phone with customers or vendors or whoever he has to talk to, his accent wasn't understandable to
Yeah,
the people over there. So
yeah.
he had to change his accent. And I've heard his accent, so now he literally speaks like the thrash English that Americans speak. And at the same time, when I asked my other friend who is also in USA but in Colorado, I asked him, okay, did you face something such an incident where your employer asked you to attend, American accent speaking classes? So he said, no, if something like this is suggested by the employer, it is considered to be racist because you that is your native accent. You cannot just tell someone to change their accent who has, spoken in that accent for like a quarter of their
Also,
life.
so for that, so my brother stays in the US,
Hmm.
and whenever I talk to him, like once or twice we have talked about accents. So what he says is, if I talk in the Indian accent, like the way he has talked his whole life, the
Uh,
person he's talking to, for example, a Starbucks barista or anyone, he won't understand what he's talking. So he has to put up that accent so that he understands. So it makes his life only easier to put up that accent. So when he's talking to someone who's of American origin, he uses the accent. But if he's
uh.
talking to someone like to me or his friends in general, he does not use the accent. So basically, he switches between accents all the time because they won't understand what you're talking. So he
Uh,
has to put up that accent. And about racism and all, see, I think okay, it is an issue. I agree. And I don't want to be politically incorrect. But I think all of these protests and all happen only because there are no real issues that those developed countries are facing. Real issues like hunger or whatever,
now we are
and
talking, yes.
underdevelopment or whatever. That's why they have to make up issues
Right,
to
right,
keep
right.
themselves relevant. I don't
Uh,
think all of this is an should be an issue. But I don't want to be
now,
politically incorrect.
now we are talking. So, okay, so what problems do you what other problems do you think are like just made up for the sake of, कि देखो we are struggling करके वो बताने के लिए.
Like, okay, even if I'm politically incorrect over here,
Yeah, no
Black Lives
problem. Yeah.
Matter, Black Lives Matter is a farce.
Okay.
Racism, like at least where it is not needed,
Hmm.
people, black people and white people can stay together in harmony. Don't have to
Hmm.
make up problems that are
Hmm.
not there. Show
Hmm.
that we can stay. Irrespective of the problems, you can stay together. You don't have to protest and tell that we want to live together. You just stay together. No, सिर्फ protest करने की क्या जरूरत है?
Okay, yeah, okay, that's right, yeah. So first was
Yeah,
what was it? Which was the first one that you stated?
Black Lives Matter. That is
Black
the
Lives
first.
Matter is a first. Yeah, the same thing. So second one is racism. What's the other problem that you think are a farce?
Other problems I'll have to think about. But yeah, it's basically anything that is protested about in the
West.
what do we call it, the first world countries
Ha ha ha.
is stupid because they don't have real issues. They have to create issues.
Oh my God. Okay, okay. Now I have a question for you. Okay. See, do you think that the glass ceiling that the women talk about, glass ceiling, okay, women don't get to rise up in the corporate ladder, is a farce in the Western countries? Or saying that women are not allowed to work is like a farce in the Western countries, because in the Western country it's like everybody is working. So do you think that crying about that problem is like for the sake of problem?
See, I'll say biologically,
Hmm.
women are more nurturing
Hmm.
and they will prefer most women. I'm not going to generalize over here, but most women, there are some exceptions, but most women would want to start a family at whatever age they want to. But they are more inclined towards doing that. And because they have the biological power of making a family, they have to tend to that. And because of that, the men get more opportunities.
Hmm.
That is very logical that because the woman has a setback of maybe a year or a two because they were busy making a family, the men in those 2 years took the opportunities that were left, that the women's left out, right? So if you're saying you do not see a lot of women on the higher posts that you see men holding these days, that is because maybe the woman opted to not go for it, but not like not belittling the fact that yeah, yes, women representation should be more. I agree,
Hmm.
but you cannot generalize that every woman wants a representation in the highest post in the company. Some women may opt to stay at home. Some women may opt to go to office and not have a family. It is
Hmm.
all about choice. But
Right.
yes, there should be representation and there should not be generalization that women cannot handle a company or whatever. They
Hmm.
cannot handle
Yeah, I
a
mean that is like quite an extreme statement to say as well. Women can handle so and so company or XYZ business, because it's like just stating a personal prejudice.
yeah, definitely. And that personal prejudice is affecting like half of the population of the world.
Hmm.
It's not affecting just one person, the one that you hold a grudge against or whatever. It's affecting like half of the population of the world. So that is a wrong statement to make.
Hmm. Hmm. Fair enough. So, Adhya, your sudden interest in geography has that is understandable. So, have you personally been to any such destination that you have always dreamt of going, or have you done any adventure sort of thing in the recent times that you wanted to do, was on your to-do list, so you just went to the place and did that?
Uh, it was not it was not a dream destination, but last year, like this year in January, I went to a trek in Uttarakhand, and that was basically I wanted to get out of the house. It had been too long that I was in the house because I had my CA final attempt in November 2019. So I started studying for it in May 2019. So basically, I was in like a room basically for like more than 1.5 years because I went for this trip in January 2021.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to get out of the house. And I didn't plan, like, I went for this trip solo, but I didn't plan to go solo for it. And I had asked a lot of different friends if anyone was interested. A lot of people were, but कुछ ना कुछ time issue हो जाता है, job की छुट्टी नहीं मिल रही and all of that. So I didn't want to postpone it and like eventually cancel it. So I just went for it. And I went for a trek, Kedarkanda trek in Uttarakhand. And then I extended that trip to Rishikesh and went for river rafting and bungee jumping. So that became like a solo trip. And
Uh,
it was a very nice experience. I'd suggest if you have the means to go for a solo trip. It does not have to be very exotic or anything. And if you're into adventure, then you should go for it. But yeah, everyone should try solo trip at least once. It is a very
So,
nice.
so, so this solo trip, like what kind of a solo trip it was? Like, was it completely impromptu that you hadn't booked a hotel, or you hadn't, decided where you'll be going
So
like that, or was your itinerary ready?
I am not a very impromptu, like I'm not a very impromptu person. I like things planned and I like if they go as planned. But yeah, I just booked my flights and the trek I went for, they had everything figured out, right? For the trek, at least. For the trek part of it, they had everything figured out. And in Rishikesh, so the trek team had uh, booked the hotels and the trek, and the river rafting was also from the trek team that I had already paid for. And post that, I stayed another 2 days in Rishikesh, did the bungee jumping and the local sightseeing, the Ganga Aarti and all of that. That was done by myself. So I had not booked hotels before. Uh, Even I did not even book the return flight before leaving. I just went with it. So the first 6 days of the trip was booked by the trek company. And post that, 2 more days, that was all handled by me. But I did not book anything before that. I like if I had to stay today the hotel, like if I had to check out from the trek team the hotel and I had to stay another hotel today, so I booked it today. Even the flight, if I had to catch it tomorrow, I booked it today, the return flight. So that way it was not completely planned ticket wise, but the overall plan was set. I had to go to Rishikesh, I had to do bungee jumping, river rafting, and go for the trek.
That's a
And it
great
was a very
thing.
nice
No?
experience.
Yeah, as far as I remember, this is the third or the fourth. You're the third or the fourth guest who has been on a solo trip, and yeah, I mean, it like just like everyone else suggested, you are also suggesting that it is like a mandatory thing to do now. कि solo trip पे कहीं ना कहीं तो जाना है. Like I haven't been to a solo trip yet, but I do intend to go sooner or later. But the day I go, I'll tell everyone that okay, I've been to solo trip, and now I understand what you were trying to say.
But my plan was not to go solo. I was planning to go with a friend, at least one friend. Even my parents was like, go like कि at least एक कोई दोस्त को ले जा साथ में, अकेले मत जा. But the timings and all of that didn't match with anyone. So I was like, I don't want to miss the opportunity. And I don't want to postpone it and eventually then cancel it. Because postpone हुआ तो वो cancel होएगा ही eventually. So I was like, I will go for this. And like even for the trek, I had no signal, like no network for 5 days. And my parents were totally like, they were like, जैसे ही तू उतरेगी पहले एक बार call करना and all of that. They had like in the trek team, I had another email with me. So they took her number also, but it was of no use because किसी को भी network नहीं था. So and even in Rishikesh, the bungee jumping place is about I don't remember how many, some 28-30 kilometers from the city. And you get Activas on rent over there. And the most fulfilling part of the entire trip for me was riding an Activa on the mountainous roads till the bungee jumping place alone. That was so beautiful. You have no idea. That was the highlight of the trip. That was very good. And my dad was shocked that I actually went through the bungee jumping. My dad was like, "Kaise kar liya?"
Wow. But yeah, the solo trip is like conquering fear, because everyone who has been to one of the reasons that they go to on a solo trip is that they need to conquer their fear of being too much in a safe place. You get what I'm saying? Because when you're out there alone and there is nobody around to help you, known person to help you, you have to kick your do the mehnat, everything on your own to get your way through it. But yeah, and this is a thing when Aadhya, what I've seen is people usually have like a very mainstream view about how to look at travel. So if you look at it, if you ask a person where do they want to go, so they're like, we want to go for a European trip, for Paris, Belgium, ये सब घुमाते हैं, or they want to go to Canada and see the Northern Lights, or etc. etc. How what do you think that the places that are actually marketed to be the like the world class place for tourism, but are not? Like for me, that one such country is France. Okay, इतना उसका marketing किया है कि no man, I am not sold with this. Yeah, this is very mainstream and like that.
I see. It depends. like it's again a thing of choice. What do you choose to do? For example, if I send my parents on a trip, I would prefer they go to the touristic places because considering age, considering how much they can, like, how much energy they'll have throughout the day, different things. And I'd prefer they go via a tour so that everything is managed by them. They just have to go and enjoy themselves. And if you're looking for what I would like to do, I would not like to visit Eiffel Tower or the Louvre, or
Mm.
all of those marketed places as touristic destinations. I am more inclined towards adventure. So I would like to go, even though Northern Lights is a marketed place, I would like to go for it. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, not
But
all marketed places are, boring, but just to give an example, Eiffel Tower and France is like to me very
yeah,
much
France, I
mainstream.
agree. And also, wherever there is a language barrier, I get tensed a little because
Acha.
you never know how will you communicate with them, irrespective
Hmm.
of Google Translate and all of that. Still, I am a little tense whenever there is a language barrier. Other than that, I am mostly into adventure. Like I would want to go for skydiving and higher bungee jumping, all of that.
Have you
So
ever
I would prefer
considered
going for
have you
those
ever
things,
considered coming to
irrespective.
Dubai?
Not yet. मतलब फिलहाल तो ट्रैवल नहीं है लिस्ट पे, फिलहाल सीए फाइनल कंप्लीट करना है. But yeah,
You know,
eventually.
do come because I mean everything that I mean, see, there is a saying that you must have seen on Twitter or you must have heard from people that you can never say money cannot buy happiness in Dubai. So yeah,
Yeah, what,
you have everything. You have everything. Okay, skydiving
so
chana hai there.
how much of this happiness have you already gained in Dubai?
See, I okay. See, one thing that I wanted to do was jet ski. Okay, and jet ski मैंने यहाँ पे कर लिया है. The other thing that I mean the क्या बोलते quad bike आता है ना desert, वो तो मैंने पहले भी चलाया था, but वो तो काफी साल पहले चलाया था. तो now I want to go in like a proper desert and पूरा अकेले ही ride करना है वैसा. Other thing that I wanted to do was horse riding. So I am learning horse riding as well, and I've taken like 24 or 25 lessons so far. So वो भी हो गया and which other thing? Yeah, you have seen that skydiving that people take when they are in Atlantis, like Atlantis hotel वाला skydiving.
हाँ, Palm
Yeah,
Jumeirah
so
वाला.
वो Palm Jumeirah वाला. So वो करना है, but वो अभी किया नहीं है. But yeah, many पिछले 1 1.5 साल में काफी टिक्स आ गए हैं. And
But mainly मुझे ना ये adventure sports के लिए ऐसा लगता है you need a lot of money for it. It's not like I'll go and I'll do it. You have to plan so much because if you see bungee jumping costs so much. Skydiving, I don't even know how much does it cost. All of that. So financially, I think adventure sports will like burn a hole in your pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
मतलब,
But
instead of
if you
sorry,
you're saying
like instead of going for a basic touristic destination wala, if you go for adventure sports, it will be substantially like expensive.
No, but I guess that's the purpose of adventure too, right? Like where is adventure? Something that you get to do only once. So अगर एक ही बार करना है तो why not? They will also think ना कि burn the pocket with the hole.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you should come to Dubai and whatever the pics that you want to put, you can put over here. I mean, I've been marketing Dubai to my friends as well. कि एडवेंचर करना है तो आ जाओ यहीं पे पास में ही है. See, I guess one of the thing is when you have people staying, when you know people who are staying in that X region, okay, it becomes a lot easier to do
yeah,
that adventure. That is
explore
what
the
I
things.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you had been to Rishikesh, it was like completely unknown. But if you come to Dubai, okay, at least obviously you have your own relatives here, but at the same time, कि अच्छा मनन है तो he knows कहाँ पे jet ski सस्ता मिलता है या जहाँ पे jet ski महंगा मिलता है, तो that also affects a lot.
Yeah, that is definitely there. That definitely helps.
One fascinating thing that I came across. Okay, now this is to say that how underrated places are. Just as I mentioned earlier, my tutor is from Algeria, and he told me that Algeria has a lot of Sahara Desert.
Yeah,
A significant part of it. So he told me that Algeria is जो सहारा पार्ट जो है जो अल्जीरिया में there is a very weird phenomenon that is happening which के desert में यहाँ पे snowfall होता है. And first I thought कि no, I mean ये कुछ होगा like वो climate change जैसा उसको affect करता होगा. I don't believe this that way. But then he showed me the photo, okay, the ऐसा Algerian tourism का photos, and that is a real thing, and it's not even a climate crisis. जैसा वो जमुना में होता है, that foam वाला पानी निकलता है. No, that's
yeah.
not the case. It's like
But
genuine snowfall happening, and there is, rather than sand dunes, there are snowfall ka dunes.
but is that like a regular thing? Because कहीं तो पढ़ा होगा मैंने कभी कि ऐसे 60 साल में या 70 साल में एक बार सहारा में स्नो
Yeah,
गिरा.
it's a regular thing. Only in the Algerian part, not the entire desert.
Oh, so
So
only Algeria witnesses this,
yeah,
not Morocco
yeah,
or Libya.
no. So that's a very
That
strange
is
thing.
strange.
But so
That is
that
strange.
so ये बात है. Then there is other place that there's this place called Azerbaijan and Georgia.
Yeah,
So obviously these place people haven't marketed as a touristy place, but it's very cheap actually. So
yeah,
if you go to Georgia, I mean I can tell you the rates from Dubai is like very cheap, and distance भी काफी short है. Like with 400 dirhams or 500 dirhams you can get Georgia का visa, and then travel ka flight ka alag se, and whatever the thing is. So the cheapest place to go from Dubai is like Georgia, and Azerbaijan is also a very good place to go. So these places haven't been marketed, and these are the places that people should like check out
I,
rather
I,
than just
I agree.
going to
Irrespective,
touristy
like I think
places.
Europe is so extensively marketed for tourism, but
Hmm.
majorly I think Europe and India are very similar. That is what I think. Culturally in the sense there are multiple languages in Europe and there are multiple languages in India. If you consider European countries as states, so you can compare them to Indian states.
Hmm.
And whatever geography you'll find in Europe, you'll also find in India. In some place or other, but you'll find it in India as well. So I don't think people like need to spend a lot of money and travel to European countries just to experience that particular thing when they can get it in India as well. If they want to go to Europe and get that stamp on the passport, and then that is a different thing. Yeah, but just for the experience, you don't have to like spend so much, and is what I think.
So Adhya, this has been like a fine conversation. I mean, there is despite catching up after such a long time, it's been like a fine conversation, and I'm glad we could do this.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. And now